Welcome to this explainer. Settle in, because today we are embarking on a deep, highly detailed investigation of some of the most mind-bending theories ever proposed. And to do this justice, we're using the highest quality, Kling-style AI video production to vividly map out a truly incredible hypothesis: the idea that an ancient manuscript is actually operating as a mathematical, self-correcting supercomputer.
It's a pretty provocative question, isn't it? Our goal today is to look completely past the ink on the page. We're going to analyze these groundbreaking structural theories with absolute neutrality, focusing in on the intricate details and looking at how researchers creatively connect this information to the very fabric of our universe. Think about it. What if we aren't just reading a book, but actually examining a quantum map?
Section 1. The Visual Intelligence Algorithm.
Okay, to truly understand the scale of what we are dealing with here, we have to contrast two primary text layouts. The standard 15-line layout is incredibly efficient. It's the global standard, perfectly optimized for human memorization. But then you have the 13-line layout, which is widely used in South Asia. This specific format literally pushes the boundaries of visual intelligence through something called tawakuf, or alignment. It creates a structural symmetry that is simply mind-blowing.
They call it the miracle of the eyes, and when you dive into it, you'll see exactly why. This layout creates an almost impossible manual typesetting framework. In these specialized 13-line prints, you'll actually find entire pages where every single vertical line starts with the exact same letter, very often the letter Aleph. Think about the manual effort there. If you draw a line right down the middle of the page, the starting letters on the left side reflexively mirror the right side, and, even more astonishingly, verses that are thematically identical but located in totally different chapters often perfectly mirror each other in their spatial location across different pages. It feels as though the physical book is literally indexing its own dimensions.
Section 2. An ancient supercomputer matrix.
Modern researchers, including those at highly respected technical institutions, are proposing something massive here. They suggest the text functions exactly like a self-authenticating network. In this theory, the letters aren't just letters, they are literal data nodes. By assigning numerical values to these letters, using an ancient system known as abjad, the text reveals non-random opcode sequences. We are talking about complex symbolic encoding. Furthermore, it actually possesses built-in error detection, famously known as Code 19. Just like a modern software program, researchers argue that altering a single letter or word crashes the entire cosmic algorithm of the text.
To really grasp this matrix, researchers argue we have to ascend through 4 distinct levels of intelligence. Right at the base, we have computational intelligence. That's your raw logic and pattern recognition. Then we step up to creative intelligence, and up again to metacognitive intelligence, which is essentially the brain's command center, thinking about thinking. But the ultimate goal of decoding this supercomputer, that's reaching transcendent intelligence. This is the exact point where awareness stops serving the human ego and actually begins sensing universal truths in massive cosmic cycles.
Section 3. The zero-point equation.
Now, in high-level physics, a zero point refers to a perfectly balanced field or the lowest possible energy state. Theorists point out that the text achieves exactly this through a breathtakingly precise 1-to-1 ratio between the physical matrix we currently inhabit, called dunya, and the eternal realm waiting beyond it, called akhira.
Get this, both dunya and akhira are mentioned exactly 115 times in the text. Think about the precision required to pull that off naturally. If you subtract one from the other, you get 0. It perfectly signifies a 0-point result, where both realms, no matter how overwhelming our physical world might feel right now, hold mathematically identical weight in this divine program. They are literally 2 halves of one unified equation.
But that equilibrium doesn't just stop at physical realms. This same perfect calibration applies to the invisible forces that actively influence human consciousness. On one side we have the Malaika, or angels, representing the light, and on the other, the Shayateen, or satanic forces, representing the dark. With both of these opposing forces mentioned exactly 88 times, the entire system remains completely neutral. Researchers actually call this the fairness protocol. Think about it. In an unbalanced system, one force would overwhelm the other, totally stripping away the meaning of your choices. But with this perfect 88 to 88 equilibrium, you are never pulled toward evil more than you are pulled toward good. It leaves your free will as the ultimate, completely uncompromised deciding factor.
And this cosmic mirroring is woven deeply into the very fabric of the text's vocabulary. The word for life and the word for death, Both appear exactly 145 times. Benefit and corruption, 50 times each. But perhaps most incredibly, Jesus and Adam are both mentioned exactly 25 times. Now this is absolutely astonishing because the text explicitly states in chapter 3 that the creation of Jesus is like the creation of Adam. The underlying mathematical word count literally perfectly mirrors the explicit theology.
Section 4. The grace algorithm. Now, if we are looking at a perfectly balanced mathematical machine, what happens when the programmer intentionally decides to break its own symmetry? Well, in a really stunning reveal, the word for punishment appears 117 times, but the word for forgiveness appears 234 times. That is exactly double. The system intentionally breaks its own zero-point balance to hard code exactly twice the mercy for every single error into the simulation. As researchers put it, the system isn't just fair, it is mathematically biased toward your success. Section 5. Beyond Lines, Cosmic Portals. Advanced students of this text note that it exhibits something they call narrative time mapping. For instance, the text recounts the ancient story of the people of the cave, stating that they slept for exactly 309 years. Miraculously, from the very start of that story to its conclusion, the narrative is told using exactly 309 words. The text appears to be calculating time and spatial distance directly through the word count itself. As we look deeper at these portals, we find verses that seem to directly describe advanced physics. The famous verse of light simply states, light upon light. In the highest heaven intelligence, out-of-the-box theorists interpret this as far more than just poetry. They see it as a literal description of constructive interference in quantum mechanics, actually outlining a non-local toroidal energy field, which, amazingly, is the self-sustaining shape of a galaxy, an atom, and even the human heart. Then we have the expansion portal. For eons, humanity firmly believed the universe was entirely static. It was only in modern times that we discovered dark energy and the expanding universe. Yet this ancient verse clearly states, we are its expander. Theorists argue this describes an infinite growth algorithm, perfectly aligning with our modern understanding of a universe that is constantly, infinitely upgrading its processing capacity.
Next is the iron portal. The verse reads, "And we sent down iron." Now, in our three-dimensional matrix, iron is just a mineral in the dirt, right? But through the lens of cosmic consciousness and stellar nucleosynthesis, out-of-the-box thinkers note a massive scientific reality. Heavy elements like iron cannot be formed on Earth. It literally had to be sent down to us from exploding supernovas across the cosmos, exactly as the text phrased it centuries ago.
To firmly cement the idea that this text acts as a universal blueprint, researchers have attempted to extract a literal cosmic constant from it. By calculating the ratio of the total numerical abjad values of the letters against the cumulative sum of the verse numbers, they derived a highly specific figure. They call it the Quran constant, 70.449.
So what happens when you take the physical structure of the book itself, the 114 chapters, and divide it by that constant of 70.449, you yield approximately 1.618. That is the golden ratio. It's the exact mathematical frequency that dictates the spiraling of galaxies, the growth of ocean shells, and the architecture of human DNA. The theory here firmly suggests the text is literally tuned to the frequency of the physical cosmos.
Ultimately, we reach what theorists call the holographic singularity. Throughout the text, there are mysterious, unexplained letters at the start of certain chapters, known as the muqatta'at. At this transcendent level of understanding, these are viewed not as human text, but as sonic blueprints. They act as literal frequency keys, or headers, for the universe's binary code, generating an acoustic geometry that flawlessly aligns with string theory itself. And so, we arrive at the ultimate thought experiment. We've traced this staggering architecture, from visually perfect printed lines, to self-correcting algorithms, to zero-point mathematics, and finally to the golden ratio. If this text truly operates as the divine software, and the physical universe we live in is the hardware, well, it leaves just one element remaining in the system: you. Are you ready to look past the physical matrix, step out of the simulation, and become the user? Thank you for exploring this remarkable cosmic code with me today. Let that question resonate with you, and keep seeking the deeper patterns.